Artificial intelligence has been a consistent feature in science fiction as a clever, helpful, ethical servant who understands you very well, who can get things done on your behalf at your command. Over the last century, formal colonialism has declined. Wealthy colonizers no longer own hundreds of slaves to work the lands they stole, but instead hire millions of low-wage part-timers to work the factories and warehouses they built, to profit from the globalized system of industrialized capitalism that they created through centuries of colonialism. The decline of formal colonialism has been overshadowed by the rise of economic colonialism.
This has come with some Western assertions of so-called universal human value, contorting what remains a colonial perspective into one that so-called recognizes and upholds human rights, democracy, and freedom, so long as one is in service to Western ideas of right and wrong, good and bad, development, and terrorism. It's no surprise that as part of this contortionism, the West has consistently developed fantasies that technology can and should continue to fulfill the whims of the slave master. The slave should be desirable, enviable, knowledgeable, and subservient. The slave should meet all liberal Western standards for ethically bossing someone around, having them at your beck and call. With universal human values, however, we can't have actual human beings doing that role anymore.
But techno-solutionism finds a way. Modern Western civilization insists that Western technology will solve all of its problems, conveniently ignoring that Western technologies and systems of profiteering built around these technologies have led to planetary systems collapse.
The core of this broken ideology propping up modern Western civilization is full of self-referencing dead ends. Servicing these wormholes requires a system of philosophical merry-go-rounds. These are the wormholes at the center of the imploding universe manufactured by the West.
Enter artificial intelligence, a convenient black box to solve all of the world's problems and sweep all these wormholes under the proverbial rug. Although artificial intelligence was first dreamed up within white Western science fiction during the start of the decline of European empires, the terms remain blurry as Western technological development accelerates at breakneck speed, ethics-free. When does a sophisticated man-made program stop operating according to its prescribed functions and start thinking independently on its own? With the AI sector demanding and receiving billions in funding, it is still wholly unclear. Does artificial intelligence really exist? Or are we just being propagandized into techno-optimism's latest Ponzi scheme?
Today, we are being sold on the idea of AI that is based on a large language model, or LLM. A language model is a model of the human's brain's ability to produce natural language based upon machine learning, a field of a study concerning the development and study of statistic algorithms that can learn from data and generalize to unseen data. Learning machines can perform tasks without explicit instruction. For example, take initiative to fulfill roles assigned to them within a specific context.
A language model becomes large when it is self-trained on a large amount of data. Data mining is the process of extracting and finding patterns within massive datasets and numerous data sources, involving methods based upon machine learning, statistics, and database management systems. This involves data pre-processing, model and inference considerations, interestingness metrics, complexity considerations, post-processing of discovered structures, etc. The goal is the extraction of patterns and knowledge from large amounts of data.
The term data mining is often used to refer to any form of large-scale data or information collection, extraction, warehousing, analyzing, and statistics. This short explanation alone should already be flagging just how much can go wrong in the pursuit of something as complex as what they call artificial intelligence.
For about a decade now, LLMs and other machine learning tools have been used for analytical programs that have highly regulated contexts and curated datasets, such as programs used within medtech and fintech sectors.
You might have seen news reports about supercomputers helping scientists to understand certain diseases, like cancers or epidemics, or to support diagnosis by looking at a patient's brain scan and comparing it with 100,000 brain scans of folk who develop a certain brain disease later on in life. These efforts are carefully advanced within the Scientific Medicine Academy, with peer reviews and parallel studies published for anyone to access. Such news items are increasingly common today, but such services remain limited to privileged medical practices, research institutes, and client patients. This is because supercomputer power for medtech, especially in the field of research, is a limited resource, with research teams needing to book time to make use of purpose-built supercomputers before spending months or even years parsing, documenting, and reviewing the process and qualifying the results. The advancement of medical AI begs perennial ethical questions that are often raised in the field of public health related to regulation, access, and priorities.
You are less likely to have heard about LLMs in the financial technology or fintech arena, such as BlackRock's Aladdin. Very little is known in the public about Aladdin or other fintech AI tools. These are the financial industry's most closely guarded secrets. Aladdin is used extensively today in informing financial consultants and investment portfolio managers in their daily work, with the tool involved in the vast majority of the world's financial trading and management of investment portfolios. Aladdin is a privately held project Larry Fink personally started up in 1989 with the highest security built around it. No Aladdin insiders have ever spoken in public about the project, apart from calling it the most advanced artificial intelligence tool mankind has ever created.
You must have heard in the news, especially recently, about the use of analytical LLMs in Western military functions, particularly with intelligence and surveillance. This is, of course, a very secretive topic, and not a lot of information is available in public. But what we do know is that the military industrial complex is the most lucrative area for the development of such technologies. With Rain, we will be taking a closer look at this aspect in our discussions and resources, as it relates to the most overt and dangerous applications of LLMs in covert operations, hybrid warfare, and the most violent forms of imperialism undertaken by former and current colonial powers.
Analytical LLMs are already used in scientific, private, or state functions in what is considered a regulated and responsible manner. It's designed and used by qualified professionals with very specific contexts informed by curated data sets. This is what so-called responsible use of analytical LLMs looks like. From the manipulation of data to the manipulation of language, the technical processes involved in the responsible development of analytical LLMs raise many ethical questions.
In identifying and assessing coloniality, Possible Futures considers four core colonial harms: ecocide, genocide, ethnocide, and epistemicide. Responsible use of analytical LLMs in various sectors today is causing ecocide, genocide, ethnocide, and epistemicide. Responsible analytical LLMs are already perpetuating and accelerating colonial harms, reinforcing colonial logic, and normalizing all this as justifiable and progressive through propagandized narratives. This is an expected extension of the colonial development logic of techno-solutionism. That's what is seen as responsible use of AI. In case you haven't noticed, this is a recurring colonial nightmare that has persisted for centuries.
Within the theoretical field of artificial intelligence, pioneers, researchers, and scientists have been seeking to create artificial general intelligence, or AGI. This is essentially an LLM that is not only confined to a specific field of knowledge or expertise, but to any or all of them. AGI is essentially what is fantasized within science fiction books, series, and movies that these scientists grew up with and continue to be inspired and cautioned by. The point when AGI reaches so-called human-level intelligence is known within this field as singularity, when essentially artificial or computer intelligence can be equated to human-grade intelligence. There is, of course, plenty of debate around how this is defined, what we need to be careful of, what kinds of futures this type of technology can bring, and when singularity could actually happen. Many predictions are made and revised as new developments in the field are published or announced. It is expected for AGI to then rapidly exceed human-level intelligence, and even reach what some refer to as civilizational level intelligence. This is thought to be an AI with all the combined knowledge of human civilization, referred to as artificial superintelligence, ASI. This is how proponents of artificial intelligence see the technology developing. What could be done with such technology? Honestly, this is beyond imagination, as planetary futures in such a situation would change unfathomably rapidly.
All the above is very different to what is more commonplace today, generative AI. This is what you see as a Gmail service offering to help you write emails, as an image manipulation tool helping you edit your photos, as a deep fake program manipulating videos to create realistic and believable representations of, for example, Obama speaking fluent Chinese on a viral TikTok video. Generative AI is a large language model that is trained to produce text, images, videos, or other forms of data. It learns the underlying patterns and structures of their training data and uses them to produce new data based on what is usually natural language input from users, such as prompt written by a teenager using Gen Alpha internet slang.
Some in the industry have begun to refer to so-called generative AI as large reasoning models, LRMs. Though this is highly debated, given the claims around reasoning, thinking, and self-reflection are not definitively proven against reasoning benchmarks. Gen AI is being marketed as a public good by helping people apparently do more with less. It is marketed as such because it requires human users to interact with it in order to improve its functionality for its users, to learn more about its users, and to cause users to trust and rely upon it. The reason for this is the business model for such technological developments. This is not dissimilar to the business model of social media, a predatory model based upon farming users' attention and cultivating users' addiction, enabled through design for surveillance, influence, and dependency. There are many problematic aspects of Gen AI, and the use of Gen AI. We'll come to this in our next discussion videos. For now, this has been a short summary of the different types of so-called artificial intelligence, looking at just a few of the contexts within which they currently function.
Then we have the political and economic aspects to consider in asking who is developing and promoting the use of so-called AI, what for, in what contexts, and what they hope to gain. What type of development are they pursuing? What are their business models? Who are their biggest clients? What are their political affiliations? How are they going about pursuing this technology? How do they respond to legitimate critique and necessary regulation?
If you want to run AI within our contemporary contexts, you need to acquire a few important things with your prerequisite bottomless bank account. Top of the list is an obscene amount of computing power, most cheaply built, maintained, and powered using the most advanced computing chips available today. You will need as much data as you can possibly get your hands on. You will need a development team who believed in the mission with the competencies to get the job done without the elements of unpredictability, such as disrupting operations via whistleblowing. And you will need regular users to help you test and design the toolset to better suit those users.
To make this whole project feasible in the real world, there are a few things you need. Enthusiastic investors who believe in committing to your cause, business models, policies, and strategies that can satisfy those investors that they will be able to make returns on investment. Secure global supply chains, helpful and supportive political ecosystems, regulatory institutions, and government policies, compliant mass market who will eat up everything you release, and not critique, complain, or revolt too much. Relaxed legal landscape to avoid getting bogged down in expensive lawsuits and disruptive settlements. So, that is what you need to run AI. Within the context of ongoing planetary systems collapse and the sixth mass extinction? Who can secure all of the above to be able to build, sell, and operate AI?
Modern Western civilization, built upon and funded by centuries of European colonization, is crossing over from the age of capitalism to the age of techno-feudalism. This transition is described by anti-capitalist, pro-decolonization European political figure and economist Yanis Varoufakis. So it is very natural and sensible that we are talking about a very small group of technocrats at the top of this civilizational hierarchy of techno-feudalism, funded by a very small group of capitalist wealth holders at the top of a globalized colonial structure of extraction and profiteering. Together, they represent a very narrow, very white, very Western ideology that is in hot, noble pursuit of artificial intelligence.
We are talking about the big names in big tech: Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and of course, the famous disruptor, OpenAI. So named in accordance with the initial NGO structure for open source artificial general intelligence development. Its founding mission is, as stated, to ensure the artificial general intelligence, by which we mean highly autonomous systems that outperform human at most economically valuable work, benefits all of humanity.
It filed for non-profit status to be, quote, unconstrained by a need to generate financial return to fulfill its mission. In its founding years, the cost of a top AI researcher exceeded the cost of a top NFL quarterback prospect. OpenAI's original co-founders, who included famous big tech investors like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, were initially committed to building a research organization serving the public. But as the power of big machine learning models became apparent, the organization's leaders decided to pivot and pursue fundraising instead for their research and development. In 2019, OpenAI transitioned from non-profit to for-profit. They argued that this was necessary to legally attract the kind of investments required to fulfill its mission of developing AGI, even though this was not its original mission. They wanted to be able to accept investments from venture funds as well as to grant employees stakes in the company so as to be able to attract top professionals in the sector. This is when Microsoft became a partner, not only as a major investor and shareholder of OpenAI, but also as a supplier, providing Azure supercomputing resources.
November 2022, OpenAI releases ChatGPT, kicking off all the hype and concern about AI in public awareness, receiving over 1 million signups within the first 5 days. March 2023, OpenAI ChatGPT 4 is released.
The Future of Life Institute publishes Pause Giant AI Experiments, an open letter calling for all AI labs to immediately pause for at least 6 months the training of AI systems more powerful than GPT-4, citing risks such as AI-generated propaganda, extreme automation of jobs, human obsolescence, and a society-wide loss of control. It asks to refocus AI research on accuracy, safety, interpretability, transparency, robustness, alignment, trustworthiness, and loyalty. The letter recommends more government regulation, independent audits before training AI systems, as well as tracking highly capable AI systems and large pools of computational capability, and robust public funding for technical AI safety research. None of this was achieved.
November 2023, OpenAI launches GPTs, providing customizable versions of ChatGPT for a specific purpose. OpenAI's board removes Sam Altman as CEO, citing a lack of confidence in him, but then restructured the board and reinstated him 5 days later. February 2024, co-founder Elon Musk files a lawsuit against CEO Sam Altman, accusing OpenAI of shifting focus from public benefit to profit maximization. Altman and his associates were described to have systematically drained the nonprofit of its valuable technology and personnel in a scheme to get rid of a company that had been founded as a charity.
June 2024, OpenAI adds former U.S. National Security Agency head Paul Nakasone to its board. Throughout 2024, with mistrust building within OpenAI, many employees gradually left, including the bulk of the original leadership team and a significant number of AI safety researchers. Some of those who left warned that they no longer believe OpenAI will build superintelligence responsibly. Microsoft, OpenAI's largest investor, increasingly seems eager for the company to stop building superintelligence and start building profitable product. January 2025, OpenAI's worst nightmare. Chinese AI firm DeepSeek came out of nowhere to release DeepSeek R1, which rivaled the performance of OpenAI's O1 and was open weight. They publish everything open sourced and allow for anyone and everyone to replicate and use R1. They announced that R1 only took $5.6 million to train, compared to the billions spent by OpenAI to do the same. OpenAI's investors panic. Nvidia record the biggest single-day market cap loss in history, losing $589 billion on a single day, 27th January. With this move, DeepSeek's R1 became the only truly decolonial AI intervention we are aware of to date. It challenged and undermined the power, influence, and legitimacy of the American AI industry with stunning effects. At the same time, it unveiled the Global South's first rival AI, built under chip sanctions, within a very short period of time for a fraction of the cost.
January 2025, the White House announces the Stargate project, a joint venture between OpenAI, Oracle, SoftBank, and MGX, to build an AI infrastructure system in conjunction with the US government. This is a $500 billion US contract funded over 4 years. But one big name in big tech has stayed relatively quiet all this time, only recently indicating that after several high-profile rejections, failures, and talented poaches, they are taking a critical stance against the rest of the sector. That big name is Apple. June 2025. Apple publishes a paper called The Illusion of Thinking: Understanding the Strengths and Limitations of Reasoning Models via the Lens of Problem Complexity.
The paper investigated reasoning capacities of LRMs like OpenAI's O103, DeepSeek R1, Claude 3.7 Sonnet Thinking, and Gemini Thinking. It concluded that, quote, frontier LRMs face a complete accuracy collapse beyond certain complexities, and, quote, exhibit a counterintuitive scaling limit in reasoning effort and capability. Standard LLM counterparts are found to outperform LRMs in low complexity tasks such as simple computation. For higher complexity problems, the models would enter collapse, failing to generate any correct solutions. In one case, even when provided with an algorithm that would solve the problem, the models still failed. July 2025, Elon Musk's XAI releases Grok 4 to high acclaim and is now widely seen to be a massive step change towards achieving AGI, leaving other American competitors in the dust.
Within our creative resources on RAIN, we have decided to feature industry whistleblowers who provide massive insights from their own experiences working within the sector. They are raising crucial and fundamental issues surrounding ethics and safety in the development and deployment of AI.
And yet, they have been cancelled and ejected from the media circuit that favors AI propaganda.
We have selected industry insiders who continue to seek justice and equity within modern Western civilization.
While their views may go some way towards or have some overlap with decolonial critique, we do not consider them as decolonial, as they do not advocate for the basic demands of the global decolonial movement, starting with justice, land back, reparations, and indigenous sovereignty.
You'll find more on insiders' perspective within our curated resources.
From this broad overview of the development and deployment of so-called artificial intelligence, we have a few questions to help set the tone for policy and strategic approaches.
What futures are you seeking to contribute to? What influences, regulates, and dictates those futures? How are you nurturing those dynamics? What is your role in systemic and colonial harms? What are your non-negotiable considerations and procedures around identifying your complicity in systemic and colonial harms? What are your policies to address and correct what you identify? How informed are you? What are your resources? How are you engaged in critical perspectives?
No doubt we'll be seeing you in our next recurring AI nightmare. Oh, sounds like it's time to wake up.